Welcome to understanding the Android SDK emulator. After watching this video, you will be able to describe what the Android SDK emulator is, explain the purposes of the Android SDK emulator, and explain what benefits the Android SDK emulator provides. The Android SDK emulator is an integral part of the Android development environment and is used for testing Android applications on emulators rather than physical devices. The emulator is designed like a development and testing tool, which provides the appearance of an Android smartphone, Android tablet, Android TV, or Wear OS device. The Android emulator is another Android software development kit, SDK feature. It allows users to emulate an Android device on a computer. It can execute and test applications under different Android versions, on various emulated devices, and with different hardware configurations, sparing the developer the need for several physical devices. The emulator recreates much of the functionality of a real Android device, that is, an OSA user interface, and the characteristics of the device's hardware, like GPS sensors, cameras, and more. The primary purposes of the Android emulator are application testing and debugging. Developers can use the emulator for Android application testing and debugging since it replicates actual device features to facilitate the app functionality on various Android versions, devices, and settings. Cross-device compatibility. The emulator enables developers to test their applications on different devices supporting the Android mobile operating system, which is essential regarding screen size, resolution, and hardware complexity. Development flexibility. The emulator enables fast development and implementation, since developers can test various changes in the application without necessarily transferring the application to a physical Android device. The Android SDK emulator provides several key benefits. The first of these benefits is rapid testing and iteration. Using the emulator, modifications to the code can be made, and immediate feedback is provided as to how they affect the user interface. This fast feedback shortens the time taken in the development cycle and increases cycles that lead to better development of applications. Next is a versatile environment. The emulator allows users to mimic various mobile devices like smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and Android TVs. This flexibility makes it easy for developers to create apps that are compatible with all Android platforms and devices. The next benefit is that there is no requirement for physical devices. It is also important to note that the emulator enables developers to test their apps without owning a physical device. This can be particularly helpful for developers who do not own different Android devices or prefer testing their applications on other devices they do not own. Next is network and environmental testing. App developers can test various network conditions, such as 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi, and even offline, to understand how their applications react to those conditions. This assists in selecting, through application-level protocol, the best connectivity for a specific application and ensuring that the user gets value from the app. The next benefit is hardware and sensor simulation. The emulator has options for emulating hardware features and sensors like GPS accelerometers, cameras, and network conditions. This allows developers to determine how their application interfaces with the device's various capabilities and how well the application will perform. Next is accessibility testing. Apps can also be tested on the emulator for accessibility features, such as screen readers, magnification gestures, and high-contrast text. Testing for accessibility helps make apps suitable for all users, regardless of disability or accessibility issues. The last benefit is debugging and profiling. The emulator is linked with Android Studio, which offers an entire suite of debugging and profiling tools to fix application problems more efficiently. The Android SDK emulator is a great resource for Android developers. It offers a complete and versatile approach to analyzing, debugging, and enhancing applications. The Devices tab can also emulate various devices, operating systems, and conditions, which allows apps to run and work well on every device and all Android versions. Not only does this take less time and reduce costs, but it also allows developers to create more efficient apps with improved user interfaces. In this video, you learned that the Android SDK emulator is used to test Android apps without requiring physical devices. The emulator provides the appearance of an Android smartphone, Android tablet, Android TV, or Wear OS device. The emulator can test apps under different Android versions and on various emulated devices using different hardware configurations. The emulator recreates the characteristics of a real Android device, such as the OS, the UI, and hardware, such as GPS sensors and cameras. The main purposes of the Android SDK emulator are application testing and debugging, cross-device compatibility, and development flexibility. And the key benefits of the Android SDK emulator are rapid testing and iteration, a versatile environment, no need for physical devices, network and environmental testing, hardware and sensor simulation, accessibility testing, and debugging and profiling.